My movie maker.
Hi everybody, again. So I wanted to do a quick talk on a book I've started called Raising 5 Kids with Disabilities and Remaining Sane by Linda Peterson, and she has a blog of that same name, and I forget when she wrote this book. It was a few years ago. But it's on Kindle, and I have it on Kindle. And while I was in the van to program a couple days ago, or yesterday, I started it. And I started it like last week, and I continued reading it yesterday. I've only read like about 6 chapters in, but I love it. It talks about first her life growing up, which is like pretty cool to read about. Could be its own book about her traveling every few months. I forget what her father did for work. I think it was like truck driving or something. But he traveled every 3 months. They went over to all these different states and were like camping out. And she has a brother with hearing and vision issues and developmental disabilities, and so it talks about like her and spending time with him and like being, she'd go to school, but like she sort of like had her own learning through traveling and everything else like that, and just talking about the things that they did, how the father saved money so much that they didn't even have like ice water. And this was like in the, I don't know, it wasn't like long ago. I think it was like the 50s or 60s or something. So it wasn't like they were like in the dark age, but I guess the father was just so didn't want to spend a lot of money, or couldn't spend a lot of money, that they didn't have ice water. They could only take a bath like once a week and stuff like that. So it was really interesting to hear about. But she got a lot out of that life, and I think learned a lot of things that helped her in the future, and got close to her brother, and could make friends easily, and just a lot of stuff like she said that like the 2 negative things in her life were like that she didn't get a Barbie, and that like I forgot what the other one was. It was like some dress she wanted or something, but it was like but she always had like this love for working with people, and she grew up to be a social worker, I believe, and was working with the blind. And then she had a child, Francis, who is blind, and I read his couple of chapters that were on him, and he is blind, and he had optic dysplasia or something. I thought it was going to say he had ROP, which is what I have. But it talked about his life, and her initial depression about having like a disabled child, but then she realized she would give him everything and all the opportunities, and she put him in early intervention and got him to walk, and things that it's hard for blind kids to like start to do. And it was so funny, this story about like in the early intervention thing, they had this like eye test for the kids where like they'd have these different balls of like different colors that they'd roll down down a mat. They'd sit on one side, the kid would sit on one side, and the therapist would sit on the other and roll it down, and the kids was supposed to like see it or like follow it or whatever. But obviously they weren't. I mean, he couldn't really follow it with his eyes, but I guess I guess know where the ball is. So it was all these balls, and so like, the biggest ball of like the farthest away you could see, and like the smallest ball of like the closest that you could see, that a normal person's vision could see. And like so that the person rolled the ball, and like each ball made a different sound. So of course the kid could hear it coming and like caught it, and the therapists were like, "Oh my God, he can see!" So like, no, hello, no. But I guess it was like an early intervention that didn't know about blindness, so it was really weird. But I talked about his school days and accommodations and advocating, and everything else like that. And he actually went on to do a lot of great things. He went to full scholarship college. He went to Cambridge, England for a computer programming. He got a PhD. So I want to find him on Facebook or be able to talk to him or something, because my friend Robert would love to do like an interview with him, I'm sure, because he's really into computers. He's blind, he has CP, and I think that they would just get a great interview. And I also love to know if Linda has a Facebook, and her kids, other kids, because she has like 4 other kids. I'd love to like be friends with them on Facebook and just see if she has any connections, because I love, like I said, getting to know other people with disabilities and mental illness. And I love reading her blog, and I read some different entries on her blog before I started reading the book, and now that I'm reading the book, I'm like, oh, she should write a sequel of like how her kids are now, and she's still working with kids and doing all these great things. So I think she lives in New Hampshire. So I started that book, and I will tell you more about it when I finish it. And so that's just like part one of my thoughts on raising 5 kids with disabilities and remaining sane by Linda Peterson on Kindle. And I'll put the link for the blog in her in the description, because I think on like every page of her blog it says like you can buy a book. So I won't need to put the book link in, but hopefully people will really like this video and like more people will subscribe to her blog, and then maybe I can get to know her kids if like that's okay. I mean, they're all teenagers now, and I assume like go on the computer and stuff. And I assume they know that like their mom wrote this book and she's kind of famous in the online world. But yeah, just to say hi, Linda. Hi, Francis. I forget the other kids' names. I think it's Steven, Denora, and so that would be 3. There's 2 more that I'm missing. Steven, Denora, Francis, others. I like you, just don't know your names. So yeah, have a good night, everybody, and read this book. Thank you. Bye.
Let's stop.